any client that we want, and we get to design their bedroom as well as the washroom. So this is what the agenda is for the second module. So in this case, the clients that I've chosen were my parents itself, because they're in the process of renovating their house anyway. So what we had to do in this case was we had to meet our clients and understand. So in this case, with my parents, it's different, but even if it was somebody else, I think the procedure is still the same. You talk to the clients and find out, what exactly. First, we need to understand the background of the clients. What do they do? Where do they live? Because designing any space itself, depends on where the particular house itself is going to be. So if it's in a warmer climate, the room needs to be a lot more cozy and things like that. If it's going to be in a sort of a hotter, dusty place, again, the space needs to be designed in a different way. And we had to go about creating a brief where, who are the clients, what do they want out of that space. So it starts with, putting up pictures of the current space itself. So this is how the house actually looks, right? This is how my parents' house is itself. It's an independent villa. And where you see here is the car park. So for Vastu reasons, they're sort of, moving things around the house and, changing the entrance and things like that. So what we had to do was, this you see here is the layout of the entire ground floor, the floor plan of the entire floor. What we had to do was get the floor plan of the house, mark it out completely, and then the highlighted area you see here is the bedroom as well as the bathroom, and we had to do the floor plan of that, and we had to bring about 3D renders of it. So this is how the space looks. So this is the bedroom as well as the bathroom. So this is again, using Kuho, we just bring up the space itself. And then at each stage, right, we take it back to the clients to show them, okay, this is what we're currently, doing. So they are sort of, kept up to date with what our progress is. Each class, we're trying to, sort of delve deeper into, understanding the client. So in this case, what I've done is now we need to understand what their preferences are in the room. So what do they want in the room? So what sort of a bed, night lamps, flooring, ceiling, bathrooms, and all of that, right? So we understand their needs and wants, and we list everything down, and we classify that as functional and emotional needs. So functional needs is something that they definitely need to have in the room, right? Say, for example, a bed and things like that. Emotional needs are things that, say, for example, certain things like they say, they will probably need some photo frames or something that they essentially had in their old bedrooms that they might still want here. So we divide their needs based on, these two, and we list everything down. And then we go one step further and we ask them, I had a question and answer session with them and asked them, what, for each of those needs that they had, say, for example, a bed or a dressing table or a clothes rack, we had to get into the details and ask, what sort of bed do you want? Do you want a tall bed or a low bed? For every single thing, we get into the details about all of it. And we ask them question and answers about everything, so that, this brings us closer to helping us design what they want instead of, us designing what we want. So we need to really understand what the clients want, right? But then, because at the end of the day, we need to design a space that will be comfortable for them. So once that has been done, we move on to creating, mood boards. So we give them, like, say, 3 or 4 options. Do you want something do you want your bedroom to look very luxurious, or do you want something very minimal? Do you want something that's ethnic and a bit traditional? So based on that, I created 3 mood boards here. One was an ethnic mood board, and the other was a very minimalist mood board, and then a luxury mood board. And then we have a lot of, back and forth with the clients where we take it to them and ask them, so which they prefer. So while the client is deciding that, in terms of which mood boards and all that they want, we also go about designing for the particular space. We create layouts. So we have different layout options as well. And we give this to the clients also to show them that there are different ways, the furniture can be moved around, the room. So which would you, best prefer? So we have 4 layouts, and of the 4, one is actually a Vastu layout, because I think, everybody is a bit specific about Vastu, right? So, and we had classes for Vastu as well. We had a couple of sessions for that. So we learned, which direction, the bed should be, or the wardrobe should be, and, things like that. At this stage, so we were done with, what the clients wanted in terms of sort of a design they wanted, what sort of a layout they wanted. And next we were asked to, play around with color palettes. So we had to give 3 options for color palettes. We had to give 3 options for lighting. And then we had to come up with 3 options for materials, furnishings, and finishes. The color palettes, I came up with 3, options here. So one was this color palette. So at this point, the room is still not ready. So we're just, trying to see, what works and what doesn't work. And this was another color palette that I, played around with. And the third was this color palette. The chosen one was the first one. So we went with this color palette itself, the first one. And then we also played around with the 3 light options here. So I had this where, I'd given the ceiling lights as well as these wall fixtures here. And then the second option I'd given was, pendant lights. And the third option I'd given was, I'd given hanging sort of, those glass lights as well as track lights. And in this case, again, the first option was chosen. So, and then the third option was we had to experiment with materials and finishes. In this case, this was how my, the first option where I had given, rattan finish for the wardrobe as well as, the furniture, the rugs. So this was the look that I went with. This was the bathroom, these sort of tiles that used and given, gray stones for the floor. For the second option, what I did was I just wanted to add a little splash of color. So, I, along with the pendant lights, I, sort of changed this to a bit of, black and white, and there's a bit of color, popped color here. I changed the furniture a little bit here. So this was my second option. And I retained, the bathroom, I just retained it as it was earlier. And third option, what I did was, because again, I was trying to, still do something very neutral. This was, something, it is a very old house, right? There's a 40-year-old house. So any kind of renovation they wanted was, they want something that's still mildly, they didn't want to completely, uproot the whole thing and have a completely modern house. They still want to, have traditional elements in the house, in keeping with the age of the house. So, and even for the rooms and, whether it's the rest of the house or the bedroom, they wanted something that was sort of neutral, sort of mellow, cozy, that was the look. They didn't want something that was ultra modern and, ultra, sort of contemporary and all of that. So for the third option, what I did was I only changed the flooring here and I retained the other elements. And for the bathroom alone, I, I gave the stone grey tiles here. Otherwise, I retained, how it was in the first version. So in this case, also again, they stuck to the first version itself here. So which means, this is the final, the look of the room itself, the entire finish, right? So this is the different views that you have here, along with the lights. So this is how it looks, and this is the bathroom here. So this is the final version of that. And once that is done, what we had to do was we had to mark out everything in the room, the space. So we had to do a call out sheet where, you mark everything in the space. So everything that goes, whether it's the wardrobe or the lights or the rugs, we had to mark out everything and say what each element is, what has been done here. So we had a call out sheet for all of the elements, the bathroom as well as furniture, fitting, every single thing. And then we also have something called the material call out sheet, where every element that is used in the bedroom as well as the bathroom is listed out. The size of every element, what color it is, where do you get that from? So even if I were to, give it to, the clients, and at this stage, they know where to get every piece of, furniture or fitting from. So that is the point of this material, the call out sheet. And that was also, delivered here. So, yeah.